I think it was fine. You know, I thought the exercise was successful. The one thing, you know, I want to try to avoid is, you know, doing an activity that gets, you know, bogged down with a vocabulary that's, you know, not understood or, you know, explained properly. So try to ensure that all the modeling and the pre-teaching of vocabulary and everything is clear so that when they go to do it, you know, it's smooth sailing. So I thought that went well. All of these activities that are more, you know, freer interaction are really nice at level 4. At level 3, I would be hesitant to try this. I think they would spend too much time, you know, trying to read their cards. And even at that, this game I modified quite a bit. I crossed out a lot of the vocabulary that I thought was too difficult, and a lot of the wording on the cards as well. I went through it very carefully and redid it to match, you know, their level. But I think you can do similar type things with level 3, but on a, you know, graded, you know, low enough so that they can do it and not get hung up in understanding what they're trying to do. Also, you know, in general, you know, whenever it takes a lot of experience to, you know, whenever a teacher opens a book, and, you know, no matter what the lesson is or what's printed on the page, it's very important to read through it yourself carefully first and make sure that it's graded or relevant to what they're doing. I enjoy using activities and materials which challenge them to be descriptive, you know, to use, you know, their adjectives and you know, all of their language to describe things. So we get more into realia, you know, authentic material. Like they all come to school in the morning with these, you know, little newspapers from the SkyTrain, you know, so they have all got it. Turn it into a lesson. You know, tell them to pick out a story in a group, read through it, look at the vocabulary, and then, you know, paraphrase the stories, you know, describe what's happening. When we were doing the environment a couple of weeks ago, they were all had to figure out what to do at this park. They were the park commissioners. So expressing opinions, ideas, disagreeing, agreeing, looking at current issues, all those kinds of things. And we have materials that, you know, for all of that. The challenge is to do work that, you know, isn't academic. You know, they're so used to only doing academic work. You read this, you memorize it, you pass the test. And what I tell my students is there's nothing for them to study, only practice. And so to sort of, for them to wrap their brains around the idea that they need to practice the language, that's the challenge. We just did a big contact assignment, you know, where they, in their groups, they each had a neighborhood in Vancouver that they had to visit 3 times and interviewed 6 people and come back with firsthand reports about their neighborhoods. Interview 3 merchants and 3 residents, minimum. And take photos and come back and do presentations. They're finishing that up now. Yeah, they have lots of guest speakers. We just had an environmental scientist for our environment unit. We had a workshop on criminal law from the People's Law Society, and today we followed that up with a field trip to the provincial courts this morning to watch courts in session, trials in session. So there are lots of good guest speaker and follow-up activities that, you know, field trips that you can do. The real challenge is to is to keep coming up with new ways for them to practice, the language, right? So, constantly coming up with variations on the same material, how to use it and reuse it. It's like, shape it this way and shape it that way, so that they're, maximizing their practice, right, with this language, whatever the language is, right? And it's not easy to do, right? You have to develop skills in order to, keep doing that, right? Sharing ideas with other teachers is very important. Asking, your colleagues and peers, what they do, to extend, thing. It's like, it's like dough, right? It's like you're making bread, and then rather than, just taking more dough and adding more to it, you can take this one thing and you can stretch it and pull it, in a lot of different ways to reuse it. And the more you do that, the more the students have a chance to practice.